What's going on, everyone? It's Mike Proctor, CPA, that flipping accountant, and owner of WeBuyLongIslandHomesFast.com. Today, I got a really special guest today, Eduin De Los Santos, team leader, right? Licensed salesperson, leader of the De Los Santos team, and you work at, Remax City Square. What's going on, man? Thanks for, appreciate you, spending your time with me today.
Hey, Mike, thank you. Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here with you and to talk about what we both love, right? Real estate. I'm
Yeah, real
excited.
estate. Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the industry and stuff like that.
Well, so my background is I went to college for business administration. I graduated from Old Westbury University. So I'm a Long Island kid, back in 2012. And I was in corporate America working. My wife got into real estate first. She got licensed, I want to say back in 2018, around there. My wife got licensed. I ended up getting licensed in 2019, but my wife was working. Then we had our first child, and she kind of put it aside. And in 2019, I got my license. I started working part-time, but then eventually, we saw things moving in the right direction, and she said, "You know what, honey, I think you'd be pretty good at this full-time." And that's when I left my more corporate job a little bit over 2 years now that I've been doing it full time. So just a little bit about me there.
Yeah, I was gonna get into this later, but you mentioned it. So people don't know, you work with your wife. Your wife and you guys are a team, obviously, in raising your kids and the family, but also with work as well. You guys run the team.
Absolutely.
How is that working with your wife?
Oh man, a lot of people ask me the same question, Mike, and sometimes I know you don't, but some people expect a kind of like a negative response or like a difficult, or how are you guys doing it? And for me, it's a blessing working with my wife. I am not gonna lie, since now we have two children, Mike, she
Yeah.
is, I would say, more of like an assistant to me. She's not really out there showing properties. She's not going on too many listing appointments unless we're sitting down with a couple. Then usually purposely we go together, but she is behind the scenes. She's doing prospecting and doing everything else, following up on transactions. But it's great. We are able to we have a pretty good dynamic, meaning she knows that I'm kind of the face of the team, not in an arrogant way, but someone has to be the face. That's just how it is. So I'm kind of like in the front. She's behind me, supporting me, and doing everything that we need to be successful. But it works out great. We make a pretty good team, I must say. So I love it.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome, man. And then you said you were working in corporate America before that. What were you doing? Where'd you work and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I used to work for a small company called America's Food Basket. And what it was is it was retail, but not at store level. I was part of a corporate team in New Hyde Park, right here in Nassau County, and I was part of a team of 12 people. It was actually literally called a retail co-op, and what it was is, different entrepreneurs, not public traded companies, but private, stores, supermarkets, especially grocery stores, would be able to pay for a membership to be part of our organization. And my job specifically was to sit down with food manufacturers and negotiate prices and negotiate contracts. I had access to over 80 stores from our for business owners, from New York to Florida to Georgia, Boston, Connecticut, and other states, where I was able to sit down with different food manufacturers and try out different products, and based on that market, see where the product would be a good fit. And if I thought the product would be a good fit, I would start the product, in maybe 10, 15 stores, 20 stores at a time. And as we had success in sales, I would then meet up with that manufacturer and write out contracts to carry their product for a certain amount of time and negotiate a pretty good deal for the stores. So that's pretty much what I was doing, mainly around foods and a lot of negotiations. I used to do marketing too, but mainly printed and digital marketing for the stores, anything around the fresh food areas. I would put together what some people call the circular or the flyer for the week that you walk into a
Yeah.
supermarket and you see. That's what I used to take care of too. So it was exciting. It was exciting for sure, not boring and very challenging, and I enjoyed it.
Honestly, yeah, that's not even that big of a difference between real estate because you said you were negotiating, you were talking, you're in sales essentially.
Yep,
Um, and real estate, you're similar boat. You're in sales. You're selling yourself. You're selling that homeowner on why they should work with you. It's persuasion and stuff like that. So it's
absolutely.
not a huge leap of from one career to the next, even though they're different industries. But that's pretty cool. So what got you started? I guess you guys started, your wife started in 2018, right? And then when did you join on? Like when did you end up being licensed and everything?
I got licensed at the end of 2019, Mike.
Okay. Right before
October
COVID.
of 2019. Um, yeah, and then we know what happened a few months later.
Yeah, so right before COVID. Um, and then
Yep.
when did you do any deals before COVID, or did you like because I'm sure you didn't just start out doing as much business that you're doing now, right? So like how long did it take you to like get that first listing or buyer, whatever your first deal was?
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I did not do any deals. My first deals were all in 2020 during the pandemic. For the first 3 months, I would say October, November, and December of 2019, before pandemic, I was just following around my coach. I had, the blessing of having, a great guy, mentor me, and I was just shadowing him and following him and studying the game because I'm a person that I think I shared this with you last week on the phone. I like to have systems in place. I want to be able to teach whatever accomplishments I have. I like to be able to know how I got there and be able to teach others. So that's what I did for my first 3 months. Yes, that person was also giving me buyer leads, so I was working buyer leads, but I didn't close anything until May of 2020. Now my first deal was a buyer, and it was the easiest deal you can think of, Mike. The
Nice.
easiest deal you can think of. Literally, I got him pre-approved with one of my lenders at that point, Contour Mortgage, and I showed him one house, Mike. One house. We put in one offer, and it got accepted right away. And 45 days later, with no issues, got to the closing table.
You probably thought real estate was so easy. Like, oh, this is great.
Oh
Everything else is
man.
going to be like this.
Oh man, don't we wish all deals were like that? Yeah. That was, yeah, and yeah, I was excited. I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, this is easy." Yeah, not so much. Not so much.
Maybe you brought up some good points though. Like so actually for those who don't know, I'm actually a licensed agent as well. But I'm an investor. Like I'm not trying to go list houses and deal with buyers and stuff, but I noticed like if I did get a listing lead, I don't really know what to do with that. So the point you brought up, like in the beginning, you were shadowing with someone, you were kind of like that's how you learn. Like that's honestly, you don't want to just get thrown in to something you don't know how to really service your client properly. So learning from someone like experienced like yourself, I think that's like the key. If you're just starting out, they should definitely, sign on with someone like you, learn the business. And then if they want to go out on their own, they go out on their own. But
100%, 100%. And just to add up to that point, Mike, that's the reason why I decided to start my team. I know that, you know, not many people know this, but I was an office manager here in our office for almost a year, and I decided to step down from that position. I want to say probably March of this year, so not even a year, about 9 months ago, less than 9 months ago. And the reason why is because I wanted to build a team. I was in charge of over 25 agents here in the office, but I wanted to have that closeness with my agents. I wanted to be able to actually mentor, because when you're an office manager, maybe for a small office, yeah, you could do some mentoring and coaching, but when you're thinking 20 plus agents, it's not the same. So I wanted to start a team. I started, 6 of us now, and I wanted to be able to have that relationship with, 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7 agents at a time, where I can provide them with quality coaching and training. And I've seen it now. Like I have the blessing of being able to take some of my guys and gals on listing appointments. Of course, before I do, I'll talk to the seller and let them know, hey, are you okay if I bring one of my team members with me, and that is so much help because when you have that, you're able to see not just in theory, not just looking at a video, not just pulling up information on the internet or how to do a listing appointment and some of the questions that you have to handle, but you're able to sit there and see it live and be part of it. It's pretty cool because it allows you to make less mistakes. And yes, we all learn when we are involved. I think it was I forget the name of our president who said that if you teach somebody something, they'll forget. If you get them involved, they'll remember it.
Right.
So that's kind of my approach on that. And like you said, I had the privilege of having that for a shorter period of time. I was part of a team with my coach when I started, but that 6 months in, we had to go in a separate way. But yes, it is definitely an advantage for agents to be able to learn from somebody. 100%.
Yeah, like that was something I learned recently. I had an appointment out in Medford, and I'm like, I knew it was going to be a listing appointment, not like my investment offer wouldn't have said yes. And I knew that going in, and I'm like, it's just a waste of time. Like, I'll go there and be like, this is where our cash offer would be, but I think we should take this in the direction of a listing. So that's when I don't know, I've never been on a listing appointment. I don't list houses. But I'm like, let me at least go, and I'll bring my team leader, the guy, who I work with, and let's just pitch this listing. And I learned a lot from him just going on that appointment. So I mean, that's how you learn, really getting that real world experience. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, so definitely good stuff. So what would you say, like how have you gotten this far? How have you grown your business to where you are now? Like, what were you doing in the early stages to get business, to get deals?
Yes, great question. So in the early stages, Mike, just like I think most agents, Mike, we start working and running around with a lot of buyers. That's just the reality of it. And one thing that I'll say is I'm not a listing agent, I'm not a buyer's agent, I'm a real estate agent. I take any business that I can get, any person that I can help buy or sell, I'm here for them. But at the beginning, yes, I was working with almost exclusively buyers. I'll say that 2020, but that lasted a very short period of time because what happens is that a lot of agents, Mike, they're working with buyers to get started, which is great, which is awesome, but they are not doing anything else to build their pipeline. They're not building a database. So that was what allowed me to transition my business from literally in 12 months. I went from 2020, I think I closed, me and my wife, pandemic year, we closed maybe 5 deals in 2020. But then going into 2021, I think I did another 6 or 7 buyers, but I also did about another 10 to 11 listings that year in 2021. I think most of us had our best years that year. But I was cold calling. That was my main thing, and it's still my main source now. What allowed me to have the business that I have now, where I'm consistently, I'm probably selling 10 to 12 listing side every year, which is fine, about one per month, and maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buyers on the side. But the fact that I started cold calling from pretty much the beginning of my business, and my wife did as well. So all through 2020, we were cold calling, and 2021, I started reaping the fruits from my cold calls that I made in 2020. And since I haven't stopped since, that's why I still have a pipeline that is pretty much filled with people, sellers that are going to sell, whether it's a month, 3 months, a year, 2, 3 years from now. But when you don't stop generating leads, your flow is consistent. And for me, if you ask me for a couple of the main reasons why I have the business that I have now, and by the way, I'm not where I want to be, and I think none of us are, right?
Right.
But one of the main reasons is definitely the cold calling is a huge part of that. I would also say that it's not just getting on the phone with people, but it's your approach. For me, what I'm really good at, Mike, I'm not going to say I'm a great cold caller, but I don't hate cold calling. I actually enjoy being on the phone. Why? Because I'm not looking for buyers or sellers. I am looking to make friends with homeowners. That's it. That has been the biggest key in my business, making friends with homeowners. When I pick up the phone and I'm calling them, I am just looking to see how I can add value. Is there any questions that I can answer? If not, okay, great. Do they have a real estate agent in the future so that when they need help, they can call? If they say no, okay, awesome. I would love to be that person. And I'm very intentional, obviously, put them in my CRM. We all should have a CRM and all that great stuff. But I think being on the phones, making friends with people, just looking add value where I can. That has been a huge key for me. Now, from the time, that I was thinking about starting my team, then I started being even more intentional with the structure of my business, making sure that I have the tools that are necessary in place. Obviously, lead generation. Besides cold calling, I every year I'm trying different lead generation sources. I know there are different opinions out there that you should not invest a dollar. I respect those opinions. For me, I don't depend just on internet leads or anything like that, but I do everything. I think cold calling will be my main source, Mike. That's the one thing that I'm better at. That's where most of my listings have come from. But I also try other things as well. And at this stage of my career, I am very intentional. Like I said, all of my leads, none of them get lost. Follow-ups. Over the last 2 years, I had to get really, really organized with my business, with my database. I don't have a huge database. Some people have thousands and thousands of names. Maybe 10, 15 years from now, I will. But right now, I have hundreds. I have about 400 or 500 names on my database.
Right.
But every single one of those names is organized by priority, whether they are a hot lead, a warm lead, cold lead, or someone that I'm just staying in touch, nurturing them. But I'm super organized, never stop prospecting, and also obviously with the follow-up. So that's kind of some of the keys for the success that I've had now. And that's the same thing that I'm teaching my agents now on my team.
Damn, yeah, that was a lot of stuff there. I think I want to touch a little bit on like you said you want to be like resourceful to the homeowners, right? I think there's definitely a nugget there because people want to work with people they know, they like, they trust. They're not just gonna like answer the phone and then they're just gonna work with you, right? Because you called them on a certain day. Maybe, but usually they want to like you have to build some kind of rapport. It brings me back like over a year ago, maybe like 18 months ago. I was doing some prospecting, SMS prospecting. This guy called me out of the blue for my text. And I just like answered the call, like knowing initially it was not going to be a deal for an investment purposes.
Yeah.
Just because like, like he wasn't motivated, like all that stuff. But anyway, I was just like super resourceful. I was like, I spent 15, 20 minutes just talking to this guy, giving him a lot of insight on selling. And then I referred him to some agents and he actually called the agent that I referred him to. And they ended up selling his house like over a month ago. And I got a commission out of it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, yeah, like I wasn't even looking for a commission. I was literally just like, all right, let me just help this guy. He called me out of the blue. I was like, and maybe it was a 15-minute call. And I gave him a lot of information and he was, it worked. So yeah,
Fantastic.
it's just about helping people. Really, that's the key.
100%. And something that you mentioned, Mike, is being resourceful and like, yeah, people want to work with people that know what they're doing, but are also like generally people that want to help. And that's how I run my business. And I could, we don't have enough time today for me to, tell you the stories and past and current where with all of my clients and mainly leads that I have, we call them leads. Yeah, someone who is going to do some business with us in the future. But I just look to help. Last week I met twice with a homeowner in Merrick who's not thinking he is going to sell his home, but I'm not just, forcing him to sign a listing agreement. I'm just listening and trying to see how I can help. And as I'm speaking with him, I'm listening to his and his wife's needs.
Right.
And literally, I'm gonna go meet up with the guy. I have a guy that does my kitchens when I do flips. And I said, instead of doing this, let me introduce you to this guy. He's gonna give you a good price. He's gonna take care of you on that. He needed something else around the house. I said, I got somebody else for you. And that's how I am with all of the people that I meet on the phone, whether I meet in person, whether we have done business or we're in the process of doing business, whether they need an accountant like yourself, whether they need an attorney for whatever, whether they need a painter, an electrician, a plumber, it doesn't matter what it is. I try to make sure that I offer some value because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You add value to people. I believe if we add value to people, I think the money will come. That's kind of
Yeah.
how I live my life pretty much.
Yeah. And the marketing too, like you were mentioning, it takes time. Like you're drawing in leads, but no one's just gonna like, unless they're a super hot motivated lead, they're not just gonna sell right away. So you have to like nurture them. And I just started up direct mail and I got leads, but they're not gonna sell right now. Maybe they're not ready. So yeah, it just takes like the momentum. Like if anyone's starting out in marketing, don't think it's gonna work in 3 months, six, it might take a year, so you got to just be consistent and always do it, and it'll work over time, but you'll get deals out of it. It just takes time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the things, Mike, with marketing that a lot of people miss, I think in any business, but in our business of real estate, that if you mentioned it, if you stay consistent, like you continue to go at it,
Right.
whether you're talking about cold calling or mailers or anything or digital marketing, I don't care what it is, if you don't do it for long enough, like you're not going to see the results. And that's one of the battles that I'm fighting with some of my agents now, my team, that I have some new agents on my team, and I have agents that have been in a business for longer than I am, 8 years plus. But I tell them, hey, with the cold calls, don't expect to cold call for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months and expect to get a bunch of listing from it. No, you should be building, creating a database. That's all that it is. And like you mentioned, yes, if you every now and then you will pick up the phone or send out that mailer, and someone will call you back and say, yes, actually, thank God you called, or thank God you wrote me, I'm ready,
Right.
I've been looking for someone. But for the most part, it's going to be someone that you're going to have to nurture. And that's the thing. People don't do it for long enough. I've seen agents give up so quickly after doing something for a few months. It's just it's a matter of numbers. For me personally, especially on the phone, I know that per every 100 phone calls I make, I usually get 1 to 2 leads. Now, that 1 to 2 lead can be someone who's thinking of selling a year from now, but
Right.
still a lead. So out of every 100 calls, so if my goal is to make 6 contacts per day, and if I'm only on the phones, then that means that I need to spend at least on average 3 to 4 hours on the phone to be able to get those contacts. Now, obviously, you can go out and door knock, you can send out mailers, you can do other things. But like you mentioned, it's just you have to put in the work. And another thing is that you have to get better at it. I've tried different scripts on the phone. I've tried different styles, and you have to figure out what works for your personality. And don't try to be somebody that you are not. On the phones, I'm a friendly person. I love people. I love to be on the phones with people. I love to make friends, and that's natural. That's who I am. So for me, I'm a low pressure guy. If I get on the phone with somebody who's looking to sell, you better believe that I'm gonna get that listing because you're ready, you're motivated. But the problem is that sometimes when we are so aggressive on the phones because we are so desperate, we missed on the person that it's going to be ready a year from now.
Right.
But
Right.
because you didn't ask the right questions, you didn't come across as someone who wanted to add value, you
Yeah.
missed out on those relationships. So
That's a good point. Like if you were to try something for 3 months, like you said, cold calling, and then what you're really doing, like you're not giving enough time, because what you're really doing if you quit in 3 months is that it's like you're looking for a needle in a haystack,
yeah,
because you're just assuming, like you're just like, all right, that one person who is ready to sell now and they're going to sell to anyone, like that's who you're looking for, which that's not how it works. Like my buddy just did a deal, who's doing a deal now out in Suffolk County. He said he called the person like 50 times, like
hmm,
like communication, like, hey, how's it going, you ready to sell? No, not yet. All right, we'll talk in a couple of weeks. Just like having friendly conversation with the guy. Followed up with him 50 times and eventually got the deal, because now
wow,
they've built a rapport. They've talked for so many times. Like it's not like some random guy's reaching out to you. It's like, oh, XYZ is calling. You probably at that point saved his number. You know what I mean? Like that's what it takes. And by trying something for 3 months is not, you're really looking for that needle in the haystack. You really gotta improve your chances by following up with that person over time. And like I said, it could be a year from now, it could be 2 years from now, it could be 5 years from now.
100%, 100%. And one example that I want to give you quickly when it comes to specifically cold calls is when we started calling, my wife and I. My wife made a contact with a gentleman from North Carolina. We were cold calling the Uniondale area. That was during the pandemic in 2020 or towards the end of 2020 or 2021. I can't remember. I actually 2020. And this gentleman, the first time he was a little bit rude to my wife, but he agreed to stay in touch. The second time I think she spoke with him, he was still a little bit close-minded, but the one thing that made my wife continue to reach out is because he had a property and still does. he has a property in Uniondale and lives in North Carolina. He had just moved to North Carolina. But somehow, my wife said, you know what, honey, I think I should transfer this lead to you. Not a lead, but this contact, and just stay in touch with him. And as I communicated with him, I don't know how many times I have spoken with him, but when I started speaking with the guy, I just, again, looking to add value. I started listening to him instead of just calling and seeing, how I could help him sell his property in Uniondale. I started asking, what are your long-term plans? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to keep that property? And he told me he wanted to rent it out, and he wanted to apply for a variance to make it into a legal two-family. So I started seeing how I can help him. I said, okay, I have an expediter. I have people that I can connect you with. Long story short, Mike, this gentleman has not sold his home in Uniondale, but has sent me and my wife about 7 listings up to this point over the last 2 years. About 7 listings. I currently, this year alone, we sold 3, and we have 1 commercial property in Brooklyn. But it just comes down to connecting with people, like showing people that you actually care about something else than just your commission check, that you actually care about their goals. And this gentleman actually ended up getting his license over the last year and a half, 2 years in North Carolina. So now he's even more motivated to send me referrals, because now he gets 25, 30% referral on every deal. But it just goes to show, you never know who you're going to meet on the phone.
Right.
Just be nice and actually show that you care, and you never know how that can transform your business.
Yeah. When you have like a relationship like that, where the guy's referring you leads, it's because like he knows, likes, and trusts you, but he's almost like a salesman for your business. He's like, you know what I mean? If he's ever in a conversation, he's oh, I got a guy, you got to call Edwin, and then he's kind of promoting you with you even having to do anything.
Exactly.
Pretty cool how that works.
Yep.
So tell me a little about the team. So you got the team set up. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how many agents you guys looking to bring more people on, or is it more like strategic? You're looking to
Yeah.
bring people
Yeah.
in.
So with my team, Mike, I wanted to start small. You mentioned the word strategically. I wanted to be very intentional with starting small. Why? Because although I've been in real estate long enough, I feel pretty good of my knowledge, but I'm a student of the game. I'm always learning. I feel like I can add value, but I didn't want to overwhelm myself, because I am not a team leader that is looking to slow down in my production. It's the opposite. I'm looking going into next year. I want to increase at least by 25, 30% of my own numbers. So I have a team, this year I started with 5 agents. So it was 6 total. Now I'm down to 5 of us total, because one of them actually, like I'm sure many agents out there, left the real estate industry to do something else. So I had one of those that left. But with my team, it's a total of 5 of us, so 4 agents, and that includes my wife now. But I'm very intentional with that, because again, I want to bring value to my team. I do bi-weekly accountability meetings with them, because again, we're not just hanging out. I tell them we are here to do business. We're here to, we're in sales. So if we're not doing business, what's really the point? So every 2 weeks, we have a Zoom accountability meeting where everyone shares what they have going on, how many appointments they have, how many hours they spend prospecting. We exchange ideas, anything that somebody's doing that maybe, somebody else can implement to have success. About every quarter, I take them out to lunch or dinner so that we can continue to build that chemistry and obviously get closer with each other as well at a personal level. But I did start small strategically, but going into next year, Mike, I am looking to expand my team with the right people. And that's the key, with the right people, because the structure, I won't discuss the structure that I have within Remax City Square, but I have a pretty good agreement in place with the broker owner, and the structure as far as splits and all that stuff to be my team is probably better than any team you're going to see out there. And I understand some teams have been around for much longer, and maybe they are offering more, but it is very lucrative to be part of my team. So I'm not looking just for any agents. I'm looking for people that are serious about being successful, and that want to grow together, and that are willing to actually work with other people. I'm not looking for like a superstar agent who just wants to do everything on their own. I'm looking for a superstar agent who wants to also help other agents come to his level, you know? So probably going into next year, I can see my team doubling in size, maybe going right around 10 agents, Mike. But I'm not yet looking to have a team of 15, 20 plus people, because remember, that's the reason why I stepped down from my office manager position, so that
Right.
I wouldn't have to do that. So yes, I'm looking to expand with the right people, with the right mindset, and with the right goals, of course, and the right character above everything else, the
Okay.
right character.
Nice. All right. Do you have any advice for like new agents that are just starting out, like how they should, if they want to get to your level, what they should be doing?
Absolutely. So it's funny you asked that. Definitely, Mike. I would say, first of all, you got to make a decision. People, they say the elephant in the room is, should they do it full time from the beginning, or should they go part time? And you and I both know people that would agree with either side of the coin. And I'm just telling you my opinion, Mike. For me, it was a lot easier to start part time. Now, if you are wealthy, if you can afford, if you have thousands and thousands of dollars and you can jump in and you're good, your bills are covered, then go ahead. But that wasn't the case for me. I was a husband, soon to be a dad before I started. So for me, Mike, a huge thing is that if you're going to be successful, if you're going to be effective with real estate, you have to have peace of mind. Because I can tell a new agent, I would tell a new agent, make sure you are definitely prospecting, 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 prospecting. But if you're desperate because you went full time and you have only $1,000 left in your bank account, how are you not going to be desperate on the phone? You are going to be.
Right.
You're
Right.
not going to be effective. If you're door knocking and you in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh man, if I don't get a closing in the next 3 months, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. How
Right.
are you supposed to prospect effectively if that's what's in the back of your mind? So for
Yeah.
me, decide if you're going to do full-time or part-time. If you do full-time, make sure you have plenty of money so that you're not desperate, because it will affect how effective you are with your lead generation, with your prospecting. That's one thing. The other thing is that, again, understand that when you first start, you are building up a database. To me, and that word is so boring, database. Yes, you got to be building a list of names of people that you are building a relationship with, that you're getting to know, that you're adding value to, that eventually are going to do business with you. And to me personally, yes, I would focus in making those relationships with homeowners. I would. In my
Right.
experience, buyers have almost come automatically from listing, from doing, my social media marketing and everything that I do. But if you are going to be intentional with those phone calls and everything else, I would recommend build relationship with homeowners as much as you can. And remember, once you have those names, that database, you have to be organized. Like, follow up. All these things are boring, Mike. They're so boring, but it's true. I'm not here to give you any magic pill, any magic formula.
Yeah.
You have to prospect. You have to continue to prospect. You have to be at the right mindset. And then as you prospect, make sure you're following up with people, and make sure you have systems in place so that you know exactly what is going on in your business.
Yeah. No, the part-time versus full-time thing is it's a interesting like debate or conversation, because like um it's so expensive to live on Long Island. So if you have a family and a mortgage, like you almost have no other option but to do it part-time. But
Yeah,
just knowing that it's going to be way harder if you start part-time, and it's going to take you longer because you don't have the hours, and it's probably going to be like the most hardest thing you'll ever do in your life, because you have a life, maybe you have a family, like those are certain responsibilities and a job, but then you have to do this other thing that is extremely difficult. So it's super hard to overcome that obstacle. But if I always tell people, like I had a conversation last week with a guy, he's in his 20s, like kind of like living at home, like doesn't really have any expenses. He's not even like working full time. But like if you want to get into real estate and you're in that position, go all in full time, because this is
yep,
the time to do it. You're not going to have an opportunity like this once you start buying a home, getting another job, doing that. Like you don't need this. You don't need to be making $1 million when you're 22 years old. You're just out of college, right? Let's say you don't have the debt or whatever. Um, it's just a
exactly.
much smarter thing to go full time at that point, because you're setting yourself up for the future in a much better position, and from a better perspective as well.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I'll say, Mike, is for new agents as well, whoever watches this in the future or listens to it, make sure that you treat your business like a job. And again, I know we all get into real estate because we do not want to have a boss. We want to be our own boss. We don't want a job. But what I mean is you have to treat it, you have to treat your daily activities like it is a job. Like you have, whether you want to call it a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 6 or 9 to 7, I don't care what it is, but determine how many hours you're going to be putting into your business and make sure that you stay accountable to that. And even if you to start, you're like, okay, how am I going to invest 8 hours? That's where a coach, a team leader comes in place, or hopefully an office manager that is helping you, whatever it is. But make sure that you're treating those hours like it is, like it's a responsibility that you have to put in that time. And that's where the prospecting comes into place. I map out my day every single day. And now, at the point where my business is and also helping other agents, I don't have the time to prospect every single day. But when I don't have anything going on, literally, I am mapping out. I do a checklist every single day of the things that I have to get done. And part of that, I'll put 1-2 hours of prospecting, exactly what I'm doing, whether I'm doing expires, for sale by owner, circle prospecting. But you make sure that just because you don't have a buyer, you don't have a listing, you don't have a seller, for you guys, new agents, make sure that you are accountable to yourself and to your business. Like, don't say, you know what, today I feel like just working 3 hours. Tomorrow I'll do 3, then I'll do 10. Like, be consistent. As your business grows, of course, you'll be able to afford to take off here and there. Some days you may be able to work half a day. Other days you might take off completely. I probably work, I don't know, maybe just barely 40 hours or less total in my business per week. But to start off, you have to be so disciplined and make sure that people don't think just because you don't have a quote unquote job, don't let your family and friends think that
Right.
you're available at all times to
Right.
run errands and do different things for people. That was an issue at the beginning for me, that where my wife had to tell me, honey, you have to treat this as a job because you have to stay focused. There's no one there to tell you what to do but yourself. So that's also important.
I totally agree. Yeah, dude. So how can everyone get in touch with you?
Great. Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, I am Eduin De Los Santos. My team, I'm with Remax City Square. My phone number is 516-581-9007. That's my phone number. You can also reach me, through social media. My hashtag there, my handle, I should say, is Edwin. But now it's spelled EDUIN, guys and gals. It's not EDW. I'm unique. Maybe my parents misspell my name, but I'm going with I'm unique. Okay, so it is EDWINDL. That's how you can find me on social media, mainly on Facebook and Instagram. And also my email is EDWIN, my last name, De Los Santos, at remax.net. You can also get through me that way. So anything I could ever do for anyone, just like I was helped to get to the point where I am, it will be a blessing to help anyone that I can, regardless of whether it's through email, text, a phone call, anything that I can do, Mike. It's a blessing. That's why it's an honor to be here with you guys, with you today, and have been able to do this, to hopefully this conversation, this interaction adds value to someone out there at some point. So
yeah,
my
that's what
pleasure.
it's all about. That's what it's all about, man. All right, man. Dude, thanks so much for coming on. And we'll see you around.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, thanks, man. Take care.
Take care.